Thank you for tuning in to All About the Girls, the podcast, where your host, me, Jenny Craig Brown, interviews incredible women to learn what powers them, what inspires them, and how they make our world a better place. Let's get to it. Welcome, everybody, to another awesome episode of All About the Girls, the podcast. And this month, we are mixing it up. As you can see, I have several incredible women with me this month. And if you are listening, there's 3 other people. So we have today Cheryl D, Ann Herbert, and Britney Bynum. I will let you guys introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about yourself. You want to kick it off, Ann?
Sure. My name is Ann Herbert, and I am a 6-year breast cancer survivor. I live in Hammond, and I'm still being treated, even though I'm in remission. Every month I have 3 injections, which has kept me in remission.
Wow. And how long have you been in remission?
Almost as long as I've been diagnosed, because after 3 months after my initial diagnosis of stage 4 breast cancer,
you were in remission.
Really? I had surgery, and the surgery, I was in remission after the surgery.
I can't wait to hear more about this. Your story is one, it's insane, literally.
It is.
Fantastically insane.
It's a miracle.
It is there we go. That's the best word, a miracle. Cheryl?
I'm Cheryl D. I am the founder and CEO of Sing These Girls Foundation, and I am a serial entrepreneur. And that's it.
Good. And it sounds like you've got some stories for us for later as well.
I do.
And Britney, tell us a little bit about you.
My name is Britney Bynum. I'm one of the founders of Absolute Best Staffing, AB Lab and Diagnostics, AB Home Health, and AB Home Care.
So today we're actually really focused on, if you haven't heard, cancer. So we really have some incredible women here to help us on that educational side of women's health as a whole, but also as we come into October, Breast Cancer Awareness Month. As you guys know, we're going to start seeing a lot of the pink and really folks and medical healthcare professionals really trying to spread the word on awareness of breast cancer, women's health as a whole. And so we want to get ahead of that. We want to help, as we did last month, learn from people, but also share stories so that other people see how we can help, how we can be better, and some of those journeys that people go through to kind of maybe motivate us to do better as well, which I think you guys can definitely teach us. So, Ann, tell me I'm going to have you dive into your story. I know a little bit about it, but probably only just the tip of the iceberg. You mentioned already, you were within 3 months of diagnosis, you had surgery and then were in remission. Tell us about your journey, how you got diagnosed, what you were diagnosed with, and then how did that all happen so fast? Just fill us in.
Okay. Well, in March of 2017, I felt a lump in my left breast, and I sort of ignored it for a while, but I eventually went to the doctor, and he immediately sent me to have a mammogram. And through that mammogram, it showed that I had breast cancer, not only in my left breast, but my right breast also.
Oh, wow.
Yes, after a biopsy, within, I'd say maybe a week, it was determined that that breast cancer had spread to my lymph nodes, lungs, bones, and liver.
Wow. And you hadn't had, before you felt the lump, you didn't have any?
Fine. I wasn't ill. I mean, I was busy with my life. And as a matter of fact, my doctor, he scolded me because I hadn't had a mammogram in 3 years.
Okay.
And I
but you
attributed...
had one, so it wasn't a never, but you hadn't had one for 3 years.
Right,
okay.
right. So that's one of the things that I, preach now is, make sure you get your annual mammogram.
Annual. That's still the number or the kind of way is it annually, correct?
Right.
And I think they, and I don't know who knows this, Brittany, maybe it's you. What did they suggest now at the age to start that? Is it 40 or is it even younger now?
It's 40 with the actual mammogram, but they still want everyone to start doing a self-breast exam earlier.
Okay.
Of course. But then, of course, if you feel anything, you can always contact your doctor, and then they can work with your insurance to get a mammogram if you're not 40 just yet.
Okay, perfect. That's fantastic.
Yes.
Sorry.
But like I said, I was busy with my life. I was on like about 8 boards. I did community service. I volunteered. I mean, my life was so full of everything else except for me. And after I was diagnosed with the breast cancer, my oncologist advised me to bring someone very close to me for, a consultation.
Really?
And it never dawned on me that the cancer had spread.
Right.
Because I guess maybe 20 years prior to that, I had a biopsy and it was benign. So
you thought, you're fine.
Yeah. So I took my mom, and once he gave me the diagnosis, I told him, I said, you know what? I want to continue to live my life like I have. I said, I'm not going to let this stop me. I said, the one thing that my mom, who was sitting right there, has always taught me, she's a Sunday school teacher for 25 years. Yeah. If you're going to worry, you don't pray. And I told my oncologist, I said, I'm putting it in God's hands and I'm moving forward. And that's exactly what I did. I was told at the time that because the cancer had spread, to so many organs, that chemo was out, radiation was out, and surgery.
It's all of your
surgery.
Yeah.
And surgery was out. But my oncologist, I love him to death. He put me on this experimental oral medication called Ibrance.
Okay.
And that, along with letrozole. For 3 months, I took that medication. Went back for my tests. After 3 months, the cancer on my lungs, liver, and bones, gone. Wow. The cancer on my lymph nodes and both my breasts were reduced so drastically I could have surgery.
Wow.
So I had a double mastectomy, and the one thing that my oncologist told me was that when you go to these doctors' conventions, every doctor has their own opinion. He said he took my case to this convention, and every doctor in there said that was a miracle in 3 months.
That is a miracle.
Yes, yes.
That is, and I have not heard of this drug that they had you taking. Have they seen similar results in other people since then?
Yes. As a matter of fact, the reason why he suggested I take this medication was because he had a couple other patients who pretty much had the same diagnosis I had, and they were doing fine.
Really?
Yeah, they were doing fine on the medication.
And how is the medication on you?
But the thing about it is, they didn't have the results as soon as I did.
It wasn't as fast.
No, it wasn't
that's
as
the miracle
fast.
of it.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
So that's not seen in other people.
No.
With this. So it's working in other people, but yours is just at a rate that's not.
Exactly.
It's absolutely stunning. And is it hard on you? Like the medication, I know sometimes if people like the chemo and stuff will really like affect them and make them really ill. You didn't have any?
I didn't have any side effects. Didn't lose not one strand of hair.
Amazing.
I kept doing, living my life the way that I had lived my life. And the one thing about it that I can say is when I had my double mastectomy, I had very little pain. They gave me pain medications to take home. I took one pill when I got home.
Okay, but I think that's just because you're amazing.
It's got to be.
I would have been in the same boat, given the same standards. I'm just saying.
And, my friends, and relatives, they came to visit me at home. And on the third day after my double mastectomy, my doctor, he really, really got after me about this. Two of my friends came by to see me, and I said, "Where are you going?" "Oh, we're going to Walmart." I'm like, "Well, I want to go."
Your doctor's like, "Can you please sit for 1 minute?" I just said, "One day. Give me 1 day."
So I did.
So you were like, did you?
Yeah.
Of course he did.
I had all these tubes hanging,
That's amazing.
And underneath my dress, you couldn't tell that anything was happening,
No, yeah.
And I wasn't in any pain,
and
I was able to walk, and all that. So I did. I went to Walmart. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So when I told my doctor about that, he had a fit. He really did.
I can imagine.
Yeah, and I think about it now, and I think about it now, and I'm like, no, I shouldn't have done that, but it didn't harm me. It really didn't harm me.
I think some of that is, movement is always good.
Absolutely.
And your mental like you need the mental health of
Right.
being around those friends and doing the little shopping and having some fun, I think, at some point too.
Yeah.
How incredible. So you had one surgery. That was the double mastectomy.
No, I
Or did you
had
have
a
more?
total of 5 surgeries
Okay,
within
tell me.
14 months.
Oh my gosh. So you
Yeah,
had
the
double
first
mastectomy?
that wasn't the first surgery.
Okay.
The first surgery was to implant a port
Okay.
device. And that was before the test results came back where I had the cancer had metastasized and had
So they were
spread
going
to all of
to
my
do treatment, but then they were like, they
Exactly,
couldn't.
but
so that was
then-
for nothing?
well, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
But I kept it in for about a year just in case. You
Okay.
know? Yeah. But that was the first surgery. Then the second surgery was my double mastectomy.
Okay.
My third surgery was my expander implants because I did have plastic surgery. And the fourth surgery was removal of the expanders and the placement of the breast implants.
Oh, like the rebuild process.
Right.
Right, of course.
And then after that, I had the port removed.
Gosh.
So that was a total of 5 surgeries within 14 months.
And what would you say is the worst one?
The expanders.
That's what I've heard before.
Oh, those expanders, yes.
There's a lot. I know just a
Yes.
couple women that have had the rebuild surgery process done and said the same thing. It's just
Yeah.
like, if knowing what I know now, I don't know if I would have done it.
Well, and you know what? Originally, I had decided to go flat.
Okay.
I wasn't going to have any implants or anything done. But then after a month, you know, none of my clothes fit and some of my confidence was gone, even though,
Yeah.
you know, I was pretty high up there, you know, as far as my self-esteem, you know. But I just finally decided that I would, you know, do
Yeah.
that. And those expanders, I tell you, every week I had to
Oh.
go and get them pumped up.
Yeah, because
And-
that's the process, right? Is
Right.
you've removed a bunch of tissue, so now they have to kind of stretch that space back out so that you can get an implant in. Correct?
Exactly.
And it's like a balloon almost that they air up slowly to stretch. Is that how it works?
Yeah, it's a device that they,
I've
you know,
seen
implant.
this in a couple areas of my life. I can't even imagine.
Yeah,
it's gotta be so
and
big.
I originally wanted to be my original size, but I said no. I'll just take little bitty. That's fine. Little bitty is fine with me.
Fair. But are you still happy today that you did it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I don't regret anything that I went through
Oh, my God.
because the one thing that I tell people is that when I moved back here in 2004, I lived in Washington D.C. area for over 30 years.
Okay.
And I moved back here, you know, there was illness in my family. So I moved back here and I really didn't get the total reason of why I moved back here until I went through all this. And I said, you know, God knows everything.
Absolutely.
And he knew I was going to go through this and I would need my family and my friends here.
Yeah.
So that's what
And
I
that
tell
specific
people.
person that had that specific treatment that was the miracle for you and the people around you to support you through it.
Right.
Yeah. How incredible.
So, you know, it's this journey has taken me in a lot of directions. I've given up I'm only on 2 boards now.
Okay.
And those 2 boards, you know, I do on Zoom because I'm still a little hesitant about being in a closed area with a lot of people I don't know.
Yeah.
And I've given up a lot of my volunteer work. I was a volunteer for the American Red Cross for 15 years prior to COVID. And I also worked at a soup kitchen in Gary, the SS Monica and Luke Soup Kitchen in Gary for over 10 years. I gave that up.
Wow.
And I was vice president of the City of Hammond's Crime Watch. I gave that
You are
up.
so cool.
I gave up a lot of responsibilities that were taken away from me. And now I concentrate on me and the people that I feel like I represent. I
Got
am
it.
definitely.
So tell us a little bit about where you're at then. Yeah, tell us, shout out those groups that you're a part of.
Well,
You mentioned
I'm
a
a
couple
part.
boards.
right. And Can we cut for a minute?
Yeah.
I got to get my thoughts together.
No problem.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, fine.
I understand. She's like, wait, okay, let me not forget that, because someone's gonna feel hurt feelings later if I can't remember all of them.
Well, the one group that I had been a member of for about 4 years prior to my diagnosis is the Munster Junior Women's Club.
Okay.
It's a volunteer group out of Munster. These women, I mean, they are amazing. And one of the members had breast cancer while I was going through my treatment, and we both had our treatments at the same facility. So she and I became, pretty close buds.
I bet, yeah.
And
what another really great point, just to have someone going through it with you. I mean, you could have all the family and friends, but if they don't know, it's not like someone going through it at the same time. That's really great to have that person.
And unfortunately, she passed last November. And the one thing that I started doing in honor of breast cancer survivors and those going through their journey, I started making breast cancer purses and totes. And about 2 years ago, I started making breast cancer ornaments.
Oh, beautiful.
Yes.
So whenever, someone tells me, well, I have a friend and she was just diagnosed, I'll send them an ornament. And I do all of this, from the heart.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
That's really magical that you
beautiful.
do that still.
Yeah.
It really is.
yeah. And one of my favorite ornaments I dedicated to my friend from the club that passed away. So every year that ornament is on my tree, on my Christmas tree. And all the ornaments on my Christmas tree for the past maybe 3 years are ornaments that I've made or ornaments that are related to breast cancer.
Wow. Way to take it all the way home. That's incredible.
And if I know someone personally that is going through a journey that has been diagnosed with breast cancer, I always go to the garden that's at the Cancer Resource Center. When I was first diagnosed, my oncologist, he suggested that I join that organization, and he said, not for you. He said, because you don't need the encouragement. He said, for other people, for other
You're going to
people.
help with others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I did that for a while. But whenever I hear of someone I know that's been diagnosed, I go to their garden. It has 3 waterfalls. It has names on the concrete of donors and people that have, transitioned. And it's just a beautiful garden.
Yeah.
And I just sit there and, say a little prayer for them.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yes.
Well, that's great knowing that we have someone like you doing that. In this, look,
Thank you.
Yeah, we're.
I'm like,
I know.
This here is my friend right here.
So let's
And-
actually, exactly. Let's dive in, Cheryl.
yes.
Tell us a little bit about you and kind of how have you seen cancer in your life and what has that done in your world and kind of how it's affected you.
Yes, my mom, Cindy, had cancer.
Yeah.
And I didn't know it.
Really?
So I was caregiver, and one day she says, I'm not well. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, what's going on? She's like, nothing, I'm just saying I'm just not well. I'm like, okay. So I start to pay a little bit more attention. And then
And did she live with you or were you just the regular caregiver?
she didn't live with me. I just came over and, they were
Kinda
aging.
regular input, yeah.
And so just peeking in like, hey, what's going on? Did you do this? Did you do that? Let's see, let me look at you, and she's like, I'm not well. And then she started, just kind of being quiet, and I'm like, okay, what's going on? This is weird. And so I'm like, Mom, talk to me. And so she's like, well, I have a lump on my boobie.
Really?
I'm like, let me see it. She's like, no. I'm like,
So private.
yeah, I'm like, let me see. You know, in that generation, some people in that generation were very, very private. They were very, very like scared to go to the doctor.
Yeah.
Her and my father were like, "Oh, I'm not going to the doctor because they're going to find something, and then they're going to find
They don't
something
want to
else."
hear the news.
Yeah, and then they're going to find something
Rather
else.
not know.
Yeah. And I was like,
My grandparents are still like that to this day. They don't want to do it.
I want to know.
Yes, exactly.
and I'm like, "When was
Let's
the
fix
last
it.
time you went to the doctor?" And she was like, "I haven't been in a long time. Maybe probably since you were born." And I'm like, "Mom," and she's like, "I'm fine. I'm fine." That's her word. I'm fine. So I convinced her. I said, let me see. Just let me peek at it.
Yeah, I'm not taking you anywhere.
Yeah, we're just peeking.
Okay.
You know, and I'm looking and I'm like, and I had to like really like gather my emotions because the lump was huge.
You could probably see it, not even feel it.
It was protruding.
Oh.
Huge.
And you have to just know that it's bad. And you probably don't want to let her know that.
Right. So I just smiled at her, you know, and I'm just like, okay. And then
I'm not panicking. I'm not panicking.
And then I go in the car and I'm like bawling. My eyes are bloodshot red. I am just like, okay, God, what do I do? How do I use wisdom with this woman that is set in her ways? You know, how do I get her to the doctor? You know, so we just went for a ride one day, ended up at the doctor. And at the time, I was at a doctor's office, and the lady, the doctor, was very, very fashionable, and so was my mom. So I said, I'm going to go to the doctor today, and I'm just going to talk to my doctor. She's so cute. I want you to meet her. And so we were in the doctor's office, and the doctor walks in, and she has on her shoes and her pretty outfit on, and she sits down and she crosses her legs. My mom identified with her, and she's like, "Hi, how are you?" She said, "You are beautiful." And so the doctor's like, "Yes, you are too." And so they start talking, and I said, "Can you check my vitals? Can you, you know, just kind of using some wisdom, not, you know, but just she checks my vitals, and then she says, "Well, let me check yours, Cindy. Let me check yours." She said, "Okay," and she checked her vitals and stuff. She said, "Okay." She said, "I'm going to check both of you guys out today." And
you're probably like crossing your fingers, hoping this is the point where she doesn't run out. Like, please,
so
stay.
I'm nervous, and so the doctor peeks at it, and then she looks at me, and I'm just like shaking. You could just see me shaking like a leaf. And so she steps out, you know, I step out and she's like, we have to get her some help because it's bad.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God. So the fear of not wanting to get a diagnosis, the fear of breast cancer runs in my family, the fear of getting a mammogram. Is it going to hurt?
Yeah.
Is it going to be, what are they going to find? Myself, I have cystic breast or dense breast. And so, you know, you're doing your self-exam and you're like, okay, what is that? You know, you know, I'm like, wait, you know, but I had to realize like some of it was normal, but I have to get checked because, you know.
Because that's how you're built.
Yeah.
And it runs in the family.
It runs in the family. My aunt, my favorite aunt, she passed away and she had breast cancer as well.
My gosh.
Yeah. So just seeing my mom, you know, aging gracefully, but with that diagnosis and keeping that to herself.
For so long.
Had to be mentally
Physically too.
Yeah, and physically devastating for her.
Because you can't, if you bring it up and you talk about it, someone's going to want you to do something about it. So you don't even want to bring it up. So now you carry the weight all by yourself.
Yep.
And that's heavy.
It's heavy.
Yeah.
It is heavy. I had to really literally talk to someone, a therapist, about that.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, okay, how do I do this in wisdom? Because how that generation, some people in that generation just didn't, for lack of better words, do what they were supposed to do, or didn't have the knowledge to incorporate self-care in their regime. They didn't. They just didn't do that.
Wow. Now tell me, how did you guys proceed from that day?
She was not having surgery. She's like, I'm not doing it. I'm just not doing it. I'm like, Mom, please. It's like, no, I'm not. So with that, I had to just allow her to, again, age gracefully
Wow.
and watch it.
And that's hard for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my heart
Because
goes out
not
to
everybody takes your advice and not everybody takes what you should do and not everybody listens to you, even
Right.
as your parents or your own kids.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
sometimes they just say no. and
No.
it's really maddening.
Yeah, and you have to deal
It's
with that.
heartbreaking. Yeah.
So I'm like an advocate. Ann was my first, I had an event and she was my first honoree for being as strong as she is to go through what she went through.
Yeah.
And so we honored her, you know,
Good.
and I still honor my mom.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to be an advocate for caregivers, breast cancer survivors,
Yeah.
and just to deal with the fear
Mm-hmm.
of not knowing.
Yep.
You got to deal with that.
Yep. And we see it in a lot of folks.
Yeah.
I think any generation, but a lot of those older folks. I'm 40, and my parents are a little bit like that.
Yeah.
My dad is definitely more so than my mom, but
Yeah.
both of them are kind of like, well, let's just see if it clears up in a couple of days. And
Yeah, it'll
we'll
go
revisit.
away.
We'll
Yeah.
revisit.
Yeah.
But it's I love your viewpoint and maybe caring for some of the other people in a situation like that. You want to care for those parents or those folks that are scared, but you also want to care for the people that it affects outside of that. And I think that's really important because it is hard on those people like you
Yes.
who are, you know, the family members, the caregivers, those people that are around it every day and wear that weight just as heavy, but can't fix it.
So what I do is I have systems in place and powerful people in place that can give therapy to walk people through their process, so they can go and get checked out, so they can deal with whatever consequences that they might have to go through in this life change.
And what do we know? And I don't know who knows the answer to this, or maybe no one, but what do we know about that? What is it that, are there certain things we see in people, this type of person, whether it be age, generation, maybe the diagnosis, where they are more scared? What is it an upbringing thing? Is it a race thing? Is it a culture thing? Is it just your family and how they are?
It's a lot of different things.
Yeah.
A lot of it goes back to culture, how you were raised. And then you have to think, wait, let's pause. It goes back to culture. It can be a lot of different things. How you were raised, just being scared. I mean, because you don't know what to do. Like, you know that it's a lump there. You know that you're having pain, but then also you're thinking about your family. I don't want to be a burden. Who's going to take care of me? I don't want to think about when I'm not here. So people, typically older people, tend to think of not thinking about it so that they can just keep pushing forward because they don't want to take on having their family take on those responsibilities.
Yeah.
They're trying to shield you from the weight
They're
that
trying
you're
to
going to
shield
feel
them from the
anyway.
pain
Yeah.
and the hurt and just that diagnosis, and it could be like something going on in the family, like usually like knowing that we do the mammograms 1 October, like what's November and December.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of things that people try to not deal with things, especially around the holidays, just so that they're not focused on such painful and like the unknown.
Yeah.
And so that's typically, and we see that a lot in African American families, like we don't typically talk about a lot of different things that we really should talk about. You know, we mask a lot of things and we think it's to be so that we're protecting them, but it's really not. Instead, we should really talk about it, and we should say, you know, it's okay to not be okay.
Yes.
And that's exactly why I'm in school
Absolutely.
now.
Say it again.
Absolutely.
Yes, exactly.
Because I want to be a psychiatric nurse practitioner. And that's why, because a lot of things all go back to the mental.
Yep.
And like you said,
Yes.
with being a caregiver, like we think about giving the care to the person that needs help, but who takes care of the caregiver?
Yes.
Like
Yes.
they need a lot of
That's
help
it.
too. Like
Exactly.
mental, and like you said, you went to counseling. that is amazing because a lot of people shy away from counseling. Like going through breast cancer, I've never went through it, but I know that that's something that you have to take care of too, is the mental.
Yeah.
You need to see a psychiatrist.
You and those closest to you.
psychologist.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Even the family members. You
We
know,
all should
children
just
may need
sign
to
up
go
for
to
therapy because
counseling.
everybody needs it for some reason. Just go.
Listen,
Like,
I got a whole
right.
team of therapists.
Thank
Let
you.
them just
See,
Absolutely.
Cheryl
Come
will
on.
have everybody hooked
Listen,
up. Like,
everybody's in therapy.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's why I always say, like, my biggest quote is, it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to tell somebody, I'm not okay right now. And it's
And
fine.
whether that means I'm not okay right now, and so I can't give anything to you, like my battery is drained and I have to charge that before I can give it to
Absolutely.
anyone else. Or if it's just, I'm not okay today, so I'm gonna make that appointment, or I'm not okay today, so I'm gonna sit in bed. But just being aware of it is probably one of the best
Absolutely.
things we can do. Is just say that,
Absolutely.
like you said, bring it out in the air.
Yeah.
And do you think people do you think it's can I change that by being a better advocate? I don't have kids, but say I have 4 kids, them seeing me take that responsibility and go to is that how we break that chain, do you think?
Absolutely. I have 5 children. And absolutely, like, don't shy away from your children when you're going through something. Like, let them know that, hey, mom is not okay. You know, hey, I need a mental break, or hey, I'm going through something too. Like, show your children that, because a lot of times kids see us and they think that we're so superhuman, we're so strong, we don't go through anything, so that when they go through things, they hide it because they're like, my mom has never cried, or
They don't
my
understand.
daddy's never been upset.
That's where that
So
they don't understand
Right.
it's
comes
okay
from.
to have those conversations and let them see you vulnerable,
I
and
love
let
that.
your friends see you vulnerable, family
Yeah.
members. Like, that's really where it comes down to, and then people realize, you're human, just like me.
Yeah.
And that's how we can build that better culture. Just showing people that we're vulnerable, showing people that we're not okay.
Yeah. And I think just showing that if I'm going to go get my checkups, then I think it instills some sort of practice in that. Like, we're going to regularly go to the dentist and the doctor and have a checkup. And then hopefully they see, maybe if we go to the doctor 10 times, only 1 time there was something wrong and we were able to fix it.
Yeah.
And it's helping fix that kind of trauma reaction that says, nope, not doing any of that. And it's like, okay, well, my mom did that as we were kids, and we had our checkups, or our parents, seeing our parents do that. I think for me, I think my parents are like that because my grandparents are like that, and they're probably like that because their parents were like that too.
Yeah.
And so how can we break that kind of cycle of fear? You know, my mom's really good she's much better than my dad. She's not perfect, but she's much better than my dad at going to the doctor and getting those checkups. And so she's kind of broken that halfway. How do you continue that and just break it for everybody else and get them out there?
Yes.
So smart.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about yourself as well. Obviously, I think you have tons of education you could share with us. I don't know if you have any stories as well, but I'd love to hear.
I do have 2 stories. So the first one is, I was going to visit my mother-in-law. Well, at the time, my husband and I was just dating, but I was standing by her, and she like reached over to grab something out of her purse, and I noticed that one of her breasts was like more lifted and higher and firm than the other. And I paid attention, and I was in nursing school, but I wasn't a nurse, so I paid attention. I remember that, but it didn't trigger anything in my mind to say anything. And so months later, she wasn't feeling good. They finally got her to go to the doctor, and that's when they realized that she had breast cancer. And it was metastasized so bad that within a few months she had passed away. They tried to do treatments and things like that, but everything was just so far that they wasn't able to save her. And so, like, I told my husband that story, and then, like, to this day, I'm just like, I wish I would have said something, you know, would it have done anything? But, like, I kind of battle with that a lot because I saw something even before, like, she told anyone. And so,
But who knows, right?
I know.
Like, and then you don't want to be that person, and you don't want to,
And it's like, especially when you're a nursing student, it's like, oh my God, you're a nursing student. Now you think you're a nurse already.
Oh, here she goes
No,
again.
she's a doctor.
Diagnosing
You, come here.
everybody. Yeah. I'm like, I'm not even going to her house because she's
Exactly.
going to tell me there's something wrong.
Exactly. So I didn't want to be that person. But now, when I do see things, I do, like, if I just have to pull somebody to the side, it's like, hey, you know, I'm no doctor, but I just feel like maybe you should see someone. And, like, just learning from that situation, I am more outspoken, even if it's just to the side or send you an email or text.
Yeah.
Just say I'm concerned. And that's all it is. If you do something, fine. If not, I just won't have that on my conscience that I saw something and didn't say something.
So smart.
And then just like Miss Ann, I was working a lot. And so I would do my breast exams because whenever you don't have regular cycles, you need to just pick a day to choose to do your self-breast exam.
Okay.
So I did mine, and I felt a lump. And so I told my husband, this was around Christmas of 2019.
Sure.
And so when I told him, I ended up going to the doctor, and I wasn't 40. And so my doctor was very proactive. And then he also did another exam, and then he found lumps in another breast. So it was like, okay, I was freaking out, but I was like, okay, I'm gonna stay calm. We found it. That's the most important
Okay,
thing.
yeah. Taking a lesson as we've learned.
Exactly.
Get the prevention going.
And so he wrote me an order, and I had my first mammogram. And of course, I'm like, now I'm a nurse at this time, but I'm like, oh, it's gonna hurt. I don't want to go. I'm like, it's gonna be so painful. I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, well, I'm gonna get it done. So we went on December 24th. And I had the test done.
Christmas Eve.
Exactly. I was so nervous, and I'm like, but I just want to go ahead and get it done. And I went to St. Catherine's
Sure.
in East Chicago. For Christmas Eve, they were so happy. They were so polite. And it was just like a breath of fresh air.
Yes.
And like,
Probably exactly what you needed.
they can tell that I was nervous, and like they pretty much went over the myths, and they was like, it is not painful. They was like, if you stub your toe, you will be fine. And so I had the mammogram done. I'm like, this is it. Like, I'm like, so where's the pain? When is it supposed to happen?
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable, but it's not painful.
Okay.
And so I had everything done, and so everything was negative. Thank God. But just knowing that I went through that, so that I'm able to tell people about the myths. You know, they say that it's so painful. It is not. I've had it done. It's uncomfortable, and it only lasts a few minutes, and then it's right back to normal. So.
Okay. And they didn't lie, right? That's exactly what
No.
it is. It's
It's
no
just
longer,
uncomfortable.
I think, when my mom was young, I think that was the day when it was still really painful, right?
Yeah,
And I think
technology has advanced
it's
a
so
lot.
much
Absolutely.
easier and it's
Mhm.
so much better than it was, that's no longer a threat. And I think that since we've learned that, that's like something we can at least check off the list. Like it's
Mhm.
not a concern. You know,
Mhm.
now it's the time, money, effort, energy, the transportation of it all. Like those are the things that maybe affect people and why they don't get in. But I think now the pain at least isn't such a struggle.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
And what do you think, how do you all feel on those excuses? What do you think's the number one excuse of women for not going to have that mammogram? Because it seems like, and you could probably confirm, it seems like the early detection is the most important part, right?
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think especially if you're starting even before you're 40, that's really amazing. So that seems to be the route. Why are we not doing it?
Well, one of the reasons that I had was I just felt like I was just too busy.
Busy.
You know?
Yep. I think that's one of the lead causes.
Right. It
That's what I've
wasn't that,
learned.
I didn't think it was important, but I think in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, oh, I had a lump before and it was nothing.
Yeah. Or I always just, like I said, I'm 40. So now is the time I need to be going in.
Mhm.
And I just think, oh yeah, I'll get to that.
Mm-hmm.
I've only been 40 for 3 months. And then 40 for 3 months turns into 40 for a year. And
Yeah,
you
yeah,
still
yeah.
haven't done anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the struggle is, I almost just keep going, yep, I'll do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I'm going to do it. And then I
Right.
don't.
Right.
So I think, and you're right. Now I think what we've learned is it's easy.
Mm-hmm.
You can find out really free or affordable places to go.
Mm-hmm.
Some of those places, Methodist hospitals and a couple others that probably St. Catherine's is another great one where they'll help you even get transportation.
Mm-hmm.
So I think making sure we all are aware of all of those things and then of course putting them into place is like the key, but it's really hard to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me, let's talk a little bit. If you think about All About the Girls as a podcast, obviously, these podcasts, these 2 episodes are really based around women's health, but I still want to learn about you guys as well as we go. I think you're really great inspirations from a couple of different angles, that being the education side or the prevention side or the, go get this test done, or I think on the, therapy side or the mental health side of it.
Yeah.
So each of you, tell me a woman in your life that has impacted you greatly.
Ooh.
Sorry, that's a heavy question to just throw
Just
out
one
there.
woman?
Yeah. What? So tell me a little bit about one woman that, who's that one woman in your life that's really greatly impacted you? Hopefully we have several, but at least one.
Well, the person that has really impacted my life from birth is my mom.
Yeah.
She's always had a positive attitude, and she's always been the type of person that would help other people. And that, goes a long way with me.
Yeah.
It really does. And without her inspiration, I don't think I would have the positive attitude that I have.
Which probably also builds that confidence that
Exactly.
you've talked about a couple times, really holding you through a lot of that.
And it also, when I was going through this journey, that was the one thing that I tell people all the time, hey, just keep a positive attitude.
Yeah.
And the doctors, they all told me that part of my healing was my attitude. And